Hey there, friends in spirit and love. It's Tricia Carr here, and I want to invite you to a magical workshop called The Mystical Medium. The Mystical Medium is a live 2-day workshop designed to connect you to the other side. I'm teaching this workshop, so I want to share a few ways that mediumship is a powerful gift and blessing in my life. Well, personally, developing my mediumistic abilities helped me to have a deeper, more precise communication with my spirit guides. In conjunction with my meditation practice, mediumship has been key in helping me to hear, see, feel messages and guidance from spirit. Second, having a connection to my past loved ones is such a comfort, to say the least. By carrying on my relationships with those who have moved into eternity, well, I feel like I'm living more eternal and free. And finally, as a professional medium, being that channel for others and their past loved ones, with evidential, unmistakable details, this has been such a humbling and truly mind-blowing experience, and I tell you, it is that every single time I experience it. So I hope you will check out the Mystical Medium Workshop. It will be offered live December 4th and 5th, 2021. The Mystical Medium is presented by Lightshine Academy. Visit class.lightshineacademy.com/mediumship. Learn more and register. Spirit is waiting. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Magic Hour with me. I'm really excited to connect with you guys. I've been I kind of hate saying, I've been really busy, but it's true. I have been busy, and it's also been quite a season. So, meeting an energetic season for all of us, I think. So I actually do want to do a little bit of an energy update for those of us who would join us here. So as everyone is joining, hello, everyone. I'm Tricia Carr. I'm actually multi-streaming across a lot of different platforms. I'm here in the Lightshine Lab. Welcome, Lab. And if you're watching on YouTube or some other way, I want to invite you to join the Lightshine Lab. It is a group hosted on Facebook, but it is so much more than a Facebook group. It is a platform of edification, of fellowship, and it's how we all come together for the Lightshine Spiritual Academy, which is the educational platform by myself and Crystal Ann Compton. And if you watched the beginning of this video, if you're watching in the replay, then you definitely saw it. Or if you joined early, I played a video welcoming you to check out the Mystical Medium, which is a 2-day workshop, and that's presented by Lightshine Academy, and I'll be teaching it totally live. It's December 4th and 5th. So check out here. I'm going to put it in the comments right now so that you should be able to see that if you want to read all about it. And but the Lightshine Lab is a beautiful place founded by Crystal Ann Compton for spiritual exploration and connection. And we have people going up live, offering readings and teaching free every single day. I think it's every single day. I don't think we have a day where we don't have someone, but it's a wonderful place for your development and your seeking. And I'm Tricia, so I'm really glad to meet you. I have a podcast called Charmed Life, and I have a YouTube channel, and I'm connecting with you guys today on a few things. First of all, I want to offer you an energy update. Well, hello, Julie, and I saw Vanessa too. If I look over here, it's because it's easier for me to see the names over here. Hi, Amber. Oh my goodness, Amber Poole is here. And who else do I see? Hi, Yvette. Hi, Susan. And there's Vanessa. Energy update. It is quite a time. Now, if you aren't having a rough and tumble time, God bless you. And that doesn't mean that you're not energy sensitive. We all experience cycles and seasons in different ripples, like ripples across the ocean. That's just how our ecosystem as spiritual beings, as humans, works. However, if you have been experiencing, a lot of us have been, and I want to just help us to have a context about it, because it can help us to make us feel like we're not so crazy. A lot of people are experiencing physical symptoms, and I'm one of them. And they're like one unrelated thing after another, debilitating. And, and whether it's an injury, which I had, or if it's, I had a migraine season triggered by the vaccination, and then I had food poisoning, like random things, my body just telling me it's time to sit down, however much I don't really want to. And a lot of people, in their different ways that I've been connecting with, people who are students and in my platforms and everything. And the thing is, we're actually, last night we had a class in my Mystic Arts Academy. Archangel Ariel was channeled messages through, and it just came up as a topic that we are definitely in a season where we are experiencing energy upgrades in our grids. And so that's personally and that's collectively. We are, and the thing is, again, as I say, if you're not experiencing that now, you could be in another ripple of that, and it may continue for quite a while, honestly, because it seems like we're going to have a big shift in energy in 2027. We have a kind of big cosmic event happening. But while it's a big cosmic event, it's not a big cataclysm or Armageddon kind of thing. Definitely nothing like that. It's more a shift in our background frequency. So those who are spiritual seekers, way showers, that kind of the wanderers of the universe will be adapting new spiritual DNA in many cycles. But it seems like right now is a time that a certain subset of people who are connected to one another are experiencing that. So I want to help you to feel okay with it. Now, we have a tendency, as we are metaphysically awake and open, we understand that, everything happens on the causal plane first, which is the energetic plane, and then it is moved out into the physical plane. And when we view that from sort of the ego mind, we think, oh, that means that there's something wrong with me if I have some kind of physical ailment. And no, that's not it at all. I mean, it's human to have physical shifts and changes, including illnesses and injuries. So that's not what it means at all. In fact, anything that is a manifestation of the physical instrument is just an off-gassing of energies. Now, that causal experience, the plan or blueprint of that could be something that's pretty temporary, something that is karmic, meaning something that you're learning right now. It could also just be a soul blueprint purpose, that you came in with a certain propensity, which in this context we may call a disability or an injury or an illness. That's what, from this context, that's what we judge it as. But in fact, it's not even that. It's just one of the things. Like, I'm 5'7", big deal. And it's something to learn from. And it's a portal through which energy can be shifted and transmuted. So I just wanted to put that out there a little bit, because sometimes we get and the first thing I had, like, one thing after another. And of course, my ego pops up and says, you must not be very spiritual if you keep getting sick or hurt it's going to I don't know if it'll do that for the rest of my life or what, but it's going to ask me that question. If there's something wrong with me because I'm having physical manifestations of discomforts or illnesses or injuries. And the fact is, no, you absolutely are not. And I'm absolutely not. Nothing wrong with me when there's something wrong with me. So it is a way that we respond to shifts and upgrades, that the body will kind of get a little hitch in its get along, or something even more profound than a hitch. And so you may be experiencing an energetic upgrade that will help you to be stronger and also more compassionate and wiser as we are moving into a new background energy in a universal sense. I'm just going to say that. We also had the eclipse, which was bomb, which was amazing, but it dusted up a lot of stuff. And I had the sense of that on the day of the eclipse, especially, that there was going to be some delayed response fallout, because the actual eclipse kind of kicked it up, but then we have to unpack it and deal with it after that. So that's what's going on too. How are you guys doing? So relatable? Yeah. Is that relatable to you? I don't know if you're talking about what I'm talking about, Vanessa, or what someone else said on the feed. So everyone, in a bit, if you have any questions here, It's been a busy, energetic season. If you have any questions, go ahead and pop it in here. I am looking at the comments as we go. Some of the time, I'm going to be like looking directly at the camera, so I might miss it, but I will scroll through. And we have, let's see, Oliver says, the more they throw at me, the stronger I get. But the more I learn, the less I know. That's for sure. Amen. Yes, ma'am, or sir. Sorry, I didn't. Oliver, maybe it's sir, or maybe you don't go by ma'am or sir. Can I say that I grew up saying ma'am, and it's a sign of respect, and it has nothing to do with age, because you would even call someone who was younger than you ma'am if they were in a position for you to respect them. But I grew up in Texas, and I think on the coasts where I live in California now, and the East Coast as well, somehow ma'am in particular there's people are offended by it, like it's supposed to mean old lady, but that's not how I grew up at all. So if you ever hear me say ma'am, that's no, I'm not thinking of it in that way. But you know what I find really interesting is there isn't that stigma with sir, so far as I've ever seen. Yes, ma'am. That's right. Someone says here. All right. So let's talk about animal mediumship. This is the topic I feel to bring forward today, as I know many of us who come together in a spiritual community, we love animals. And even if you are not a person who has animals in your family, I'll just tell you, pets. I don't tend to say the word pets. Not that I have any judgment about someone else who uses it, but I've always not really loved the word pet. It feels to me like it's diminutive. I don't say owner either, except as a joke sometimes to my cat. If he's being like Franzi, one of my kitties, he's a bit, he's a pantful. He's quite the bossy, persnickety personality. And by the way, he's famous. He has 16 million views on YouTube. I'll just let you know that's the kind of guy that he is. Anyway, Franzi sometimes does a joke. I'm like, haha, you can't do anything about it because you're property. So it's the way that I tease my animals. But I digress. When I say animal family, in your mind, if you're like wondering what I mean pet. I just prefer to use the word family member because that's how I feel aligned with it. So many of us, if you're not a person who tends to have animals in your family members, you are still nature, and nature is how we are able to. Nature, the connection to nature. I mean, it's so funny, the connection to nature, because we just are nature, but we are disconnected from nature. In fact, we're never not nature, but we have our awareness distracted from the fact that we're nature. You see, we live in a resonant container of our mother Gaia, and it's what science calls the Schumann Resonance, and it is literally from the crust of the earth, a certain distance from the earth, that is a container of resonance that is emitting directly from Gaia's heart. And that is what is keeping us well. It's what's sustaining us. It is causing us to be abundant, and it is the greatest aligning and healing frequency that we know, and animals vibrate to that. And this is why one of the reasons why we feel so much for animals. And if you're not one who has animals in your family, you probably just melt when you see those videos or a nature show. And just, to me, I've said this many times, like to my husband, because my husband says, he wished that he could just have an alien come and sit on the couch with him and enjoy a scotch, and he could just ask him some, metaphysical questions. And I'm like, see, or other people who want to see angels face to face with their full physical senses. And that's all great and everything. But that's how I feel every time I see an animal or touch a tree. And I mean a squirrel on my yard. Like, I'm trying not to lose my shit every time I see an animal. Because to me, they are angels. They are the most powerful, beautiful, spiritual, and natural manifestations of God. And so I count myself quite lucky to be incarnated on this earth with all of these angels and guides and guardians. And so that's my love song to animals. And let's talk about animal mediumship. So I'm an animal communicator, animal telepath, and sort of as included in animal telepathy is animal mediumship. But just the difference there is, well, I'll say what animal communication is. The way that I teach it and the way that I practice it is I connect with the direct personality of the incarnated being, so that, Crystal is my best friend and I talk to Crystal when we need to talk. And of course, if Crystal says, hey, can you help me out with something? Will you connect with my higher self? Sure, I'll connect with her higher self. But my regular relationship with Crystal is speaking to her directly through the personas of this, and that's what animals do as well. And so that's what animal communication is. It's the direct communication to the incarnated consciousness. And in an animal communication session with an incarnated animal, the animal may say, like, they will have the information that they have from that frequency into which I'm connecting. So if you ask a dog, what's your best diet? He's going to be like, bacon all day long. You know what I mean? Like, because that's what's delicious to me. That's not true. He's not going to know he's not a nutritionist. So he's not going to know. He can give you feedback about, well, when I eat this food, I feel this way, just like any human can. So in a session, I might switch gears if we need to have some health or well-being information, and I ask spirit guides or ask higher selves. But that's a different frequency. And so is mediumship. It's a different frequency because if we're connecting with animals who have passed on, they're in a different density, they're in a different dimension. They include that physical personality just like humans do. So, if you are connecting mediumistically with a past human, they're going to talk about things from life. They're going to exhibit their personalities that they had in life, because that's a part of the frequency connection they have to the loved one who is still here as an incarnated person. In fact, they live in your field through those portals. So mom is showing me the cat eye glasses that she left behind for me because I thought they were so beautiful and she left them for me. That is a portal in the incarnated person's field to the past person. And those evidences are sort of the inputs that help us to be open and help us to anchor as a human physical and as a human spiritual as well. So with animals, it's very similar. But I would say that as a medium across, as a medium for animals and a medium for humans, it does feel a little different. So if someone had a client and they wanted to connect with past loved ones, I sort of dial into the human frequency or I dial into the animal frequency. At least that's how I do it, as opposed to just being totally open and seeing I do kind of do that, just see who comes forward. But in a way, there's sort of a tuning of the dial, whether it's, any of these tiers of spiritual or telepathic communication. And so the animal frequency, I just wanted to share with you some of the things that we can experience. Oh, I'm so sorry, Rita says that she lost her dog. Yes, oh, I understand. And afraid to get a new one because of how painful it is to lose them. I know. It is, and it's really the soul contract between animals whose life cycles are so much shorter than ours. I mean, it's a big thing that we take on, and it's also a big thing that they take on. I just told Crystal and Stephanie about how my husband was talking about a retirement plan that we're investing in. And he's like, we can't touch the money until we're 59 and a half. And I'm 47. And then he mentioned, so in 13 years, and I was like, whoa. I'm going to be 60 in 13 years. Like the math just kind of hit me. And I was like, that's only 2/3 of a cat's life. Like that's my unit of measurement. And I'm like, the kitties that I have now, some of them could actually potentially be alive still. Barely potentially. I mean, because they're like 8, 9, and 10. But anyway, I understand. And, that's something that it is, but the joy and the connection, of course, Rita, I'm sure you would say it was so painful, and yet the life and the love that you created was, gosh, I don't even want to say worth it, but it was just something you can't even imagine living without at this point. So God bless you, and I just hope that you are soothed in your grief. And so let's talk about, first of all, let's talk about the animal's perspective on death. Now, I'm being very general because, of course, we have individual beings that animals are. You know, there's no swath that says all animals feel this way or all dogs feel this way. So I'm speaking in very general terms, but it is from my experience. And very generally speaking, you know, animals are closer to the signature. Well, they are the signature of Gaia, and Gaia is very close to the signature of God or source energy. And so animals have a sort of, understanding isn't exactly the right word. They have a beingness about the cycles of life. So they both they have a sort of they don't forget that we are eternal. Yet at the same time, they are very present. So they do grieve when they lose someone, and they do have a sort of grieving as they are moving on. And yet at the same time, it isn't as, and they also could fear death because they have a survival mechanism. It's still not exactly the same as humans. We're more confused about death and eternity than animals are. And so, you know, when a loved one passes, the animal can see them visiting on the astral plane. They're there, and their senses are open in a way that a lot of humans may be less open. So, and even in their grieving process, their senses are more open. Humans, even someone who's a highly experienced medium, when someone close to a medium passes during their grieving period, it isn't as easy for them to experience their loved one in spirit. Part of the reason is also because of the transitional process where the spirit would actually be going through life review and whatnot. But the grief actually is, it kind of creates a little bit of a static because we are wanting them in the physical because that's the habit that we have to orient our love to them. But we're shifting to having the attunement to how our relationship goes on, which is the heart to heart, living literally in the heart. And that's true with our animals as well. Before I move on, I should say, so animals' perspective on death is they are often, and this is even like kind of more visible, even observable, they tend to be more at peace about it, very generally speaking. I just connected with a dog today, in person. In person and in dog. I spent a little time with him because his humans want to, connect with him because today is his last day on Earth, and he's going to be assisted to move on because his body is broken down and it's done. And he's quite an elderly doggy, so he had a good length of time for his species, and yeah, his heart was very much at peace. And as I explained to the doggy and asked him, basically, this is the plan, and, how do you feel about it? And explained to him, I just kind of said, you're going to go, and I explained to him the process. You'll be sedated, and then, that all the pain will be gone at that point, and then you're just going to wink out of the body. And said also, and you may even separate from the body if you want to before that. And his question for me was, do I have to ride in the car? And I said, so I asked his human, I said, he wants to know if he has to ride in the car. And he's like, yeah, he seems to not really want to ride in the car lately. And I didn't know anything about the dog yet, except that he was 16. And I said, okay, well, ask the doggy, what's the deal with the car? And he kind of pulled me into his energy, is the way empathically. And I picked up that he has a headache and a bit of kind of vertigo. And so when he's riding in the car, he's getting a bit nauseated when he's lying in the back. And so I told his human that, and then the human affirmed that he has tumors in his ears. And I was like, well, that's no wonder. I mean, that's why he's a headache. And, that pressure probably, I know if we have pressure on our inner ear or something messing with our inner ear, then we get vertigo. So, and it was interesting because when I told the doggy, yeah, you're going to have to be in the car, he started that, that really like the little, very, very faint whining. And he's just kind of processing the fact, oh gosh, I have to get in the car again. So just loved him through it. And he was fine. He's like, okay. And we also talked about, I was like, was there anything you can give him to kind of, circumvent any discomfort he could feel in the car? And the human said, oh yeah, well, he has CBD, so maybe I'll give him that. And that'll help to soothe how he feels as he's in the car. But, and then so we moved past that. And as I talked to the dog then again about the actual assistance of passing on, and his response to that was completely neutral, completely, like he had no response at all to, and I explained it a couple of times because animals can just not listen to us. Like sometimes you have to go like, hey, are you listening to me? And he was just completely neutral. And then he drew me into his heart and how peaceful it was. And it was like in the center of his being was this heart that was so beautiful, peaceful, and balanced was the word he wanted to talk about. Even though all throughout his body was, it was breaking down and there was pain and there was malfunction. But his heart, his energetic heart was so balanced, and he had so much gratitude for his humans he wanted to share because they had gotten him there. And so he was just ready. His life was full, and he was just kind of peacefully waiting for it. Just kind of rather not ride in the car. I think that's just where he was. I trust that I think that actually we're about there from the time that I understand. I think right now that's occurring for the sweet soul. And so blessings to him as he's released and he moves on. So the animal's perspective on passing. Now, there are also other times when animals are closer to their passing where they can be sort of resistant. And that usually, that's not because they're afraid of what's going to happen. It's because they are concerned about what's going on here. So if they have a human who's having a hard time with their passing, then they may feel a little bit of a pull, or even like empathically picking up their human's anxiety about like, can you please feel better about this? Or I don't know how to deal with that anxiety. And one of my animals who passed, Helen, she's a cat, and she had her husband, literally, I mean, like, well, except they didn't have a legal ceremony, but her partner, Tom, she was resisting passing because she was just like trying to figure out how to get out of the hospital and be with Tom. And so when I was explaining to her that, her body was so broken down that she wasn't going to ever go home and be with Tom in physical. And she indicated to me, that's too painful. So please help me to be with Tom in the sense of helping her to no longer be confined to the body so that she could be with Tom. And so she did. The second that she disconnected that silver cord from the body, I felt her immediately right there at home with Tom in spirit. And so, those are some of the ways that they could maybe have resistance, but it's not in the unknown about what's going to happen. Now, I'm going to look at the comments here. How's it going? Let me see what's going on here with April is sharing that. She says, my dog visited me. Oh, our past dog visited me, told me to put a blanket on me that was heavy, and I was able to energetically pet him. Oh, with the blanket feeling like him on my legs. It was pretty neat, and it made me feel better during my grieving. That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. That's really, really beautiful. And thank you to your dog too, because it sounds like a technique that maybe we could benefit by. I can imagine putting a pillow on my legs if I needed to feel my cat, So let's talk about how connecting with our past loved ones can be helpful. Well, obviously, from April's share, we know that the comfort and the relationship, the love, the unconditional bond and love that we have with them can be more fully experienced if we connect with their past on souls. But some other things that they actually do for us from spirit is also similar to what happens with humans. So they act as spirit guides, and they might do something that is similar to what their role was with us when they lived. And that is that they may actually, like if they were a dog who was a guard dog who protected you, then they may have that role in spirit as a guide. I'm just pasting this in here because I want you guys to, pardon me. Yeah, I just want to put this on the screen. So let's say, yeah, your dog is a guard dog, he kind of takes care of you, he surveils and he makes sure that the family is safe. In spirit, he may be actually doing that. If you need help, he may be the facilitator to go and find the guide or energetic support that you need. And I've seen this with dogs, especially where they're going and they're in spirit, they're getting a certain kind of guide, or they're getting a certain kind of energy, or they're bringing this information, or they're sending a certain sign, like bringing the bone and fetch, or bringing the stick to you and fetch. They're doing these similar kinds of behaviors, but on an energetic or spiritual plane. And if you, let's say, if you had a cat who worked with your heart chakra as in their physical life, then that cat may still be doing that when you sleep, or if you are feeling you need some support that has to do with heart issues, if it's like obviously physical, but also like grieving or sadness, or wanting to bolster compassion for yourself or someone else, you can connect with your cat in spirit, that cat who maybe was an expert in the heart energy, and he or she would help you with that and even give you specific advice. Now, you can understand them by feelings, because that's often how we are connecting with our animals while they're in the body. By the way, I do telepathically connect with my animals, but I mostly am it's like our own animals are like an extension of our own body. So it actually feels a lot different when I connect with an animal, someone else's animal, or an animal I've just met, than my own. My own animal is like, what's my hand doing? What does my hand feel like? What does it need? It's just like an instant knowing. It's a channeling is not even the right word, because it's just me. They are my soul complex, also pushed out, just like my own physical body is. But sometimes if I need specific information, I kind of focus deeper so that I can understand a message more clearly from them. Like one night I woke up, Kankan, one of my kitties, he was sick, and he had vomited, and he doesn't vomit very much. And I was like, what's going on? And he told me, feels like there's something stuck in my throat. My throat has like a lump in it and it doesn't feel good. And it turned out when we took him to the vet and he had an x-ray, he had a swelling in his throat. So, but I had to focus in a way so that I could, I just kind of empathically felt his body, and it just shows up then. So anyway, spirit guides, they can continue to be a guide in spirit, possibly in a similar way, but that they were in physical life. And they also advance, they kind of ascend with, for example, my birds. I have quite a few birds in spirit at this point, because I've been, had birds in my life for a long time. And but the ones who I lost first as an adult, not as a child, I had birds as well, but as an adult who I had this really powerful bond with, they will show up for helping me to bring new family members in, like new birds, and also to counsel me these birds work both in beginnings and endings. They don't necessarily help me when somebody may be ill, but they will help me to know how there's an alignment for someone to come into my family. And they will also show up when it's time for someone to cross over. But my cat also does that. I just had a bird who passed now 2 weeks ago. And the night before he passed, while he was still alive, they showed up on the astral plane, and I had an astral projection, a dream, and they were all with me and they were comforting me, and because I felt guilt. And that's just something that I think we always deal with when we are the guardian of someone who passes on. We think I should have done something, I should have known, even if it's just like a full life and that's, there it is, or it was something you couldn't avoid. And that's just a human experience. So they were comforting me the night before he passed, helping me to process guilt that I would eventually experience the next day. But they were also there to carry him across. So beginnings and endings. And then my animals in spirit, as well as my animals incarnated, will help me with animal communication. They will, in spirit, like if it's one of my animals who's living, sort of astral project, and one of my cats is particularly good at that, to help the animal communicate with me and help me to understand what they, like need me to understand, facilitate the line of communication. So yeah, those are some of the things that having that connection with our animals will facilitate. And anyone can connect with their past animals. Really, it's as simple as thinking of them, feeling them in your heart, calling them in a way where you feel a smile. And sometimes if we're in the grief, the smile also brings tears because we miss them. That is your relationship with them. That is your communication with them. It's not like some special, like, oh, I heard this voice. It's subtle, but it's on the frequency of love. And what's really beautiful about it is that we are called to go deeper into our own heart to carry on our relationship with our past, all of our past loved ones, but, our past animals. That they actually direct us to ourselves and to our capacity to love and hold love. So there's nothing holding us from it. Nobody needs to be more talented in order to experience the unique love that they co-created with their animal. Looking at a picture of them, that's them as you feel the love that you create and continue to create. One thing I have noticed about my animals too, as I said, with the scenario where my bird was to pass a little bit, probably 12 hours later, is that they do meet me on the astral plane when I really, really need them. And so what the astral plane feels like is it's like everything but a body. And so they bring their energy into that very close energetic plane. And so for me, it's like you're sitting next to someone, and it's like I can see them, except I don't. It's not a physical representation. It's everything else. So the details are much fuller in the experiencing of them. And I actually had when it was time for me to bring a bird into my family as a partner to a surviving bird who had lost his partner. And I was about to walk into the aviary, and I just called forth my bird who had passed. She's my dear one. And I just said, can you please help me to know who the right partner is for, my bird who was at home? And she sent me a picture of a pale yellow bird. And I walked right in, and there was a pale yellow bird amongst many other green and blue and white. And there was this one pale yellow bird who had this soft and easy temperament and, kind of like was eyeing me and like getting close to me. And the bird at home, his one request for a new partner was someone who was gentle. He wanted a gentle personality. So my bird in spirit took us, I know where you're going. I know what this bird needs. And I know where you're going. I'm going to take a picture and send it to you. Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Now, I want to tell you that another help in animal mediumship is St. Francis. Now, St. Francis of Assisi, so amazing. He actually came through a few weeks ago during a class that I was teaching. Was it the Archangel Azrael class? Yeah, it was. Because St. Francis of Assisi, even though he was technically a Roman Church monk, his spirituality was so much grander than that. He couldn't be put into any box of religion. He was an esoteric, and he was an animal communicator, and he was, really vibrating to a Christ consciousness. And he's such a great help in animal communication, but in a lot of other scenarios too. He really helps us to know, to embody our attunement as nature, embody our attunement as children of Gaia, and help us to enhance that health, well-being, and abundance that is ours by that Gaia resonance. And so if you want to connect with past animals, if you would like to, whether they're yours or someone else's, I would suggest calling on St. Francis. And he's also so compassionate for the challenges that we face as humans, because he gets it. He was so, in his physical life, the way showing gifts, the ways that he was awake in such an extreme context that was not as awake. That's why he's, this master archetype that we are still calling upon as that ascended master. So he's a lovely and caring guide, and he loves to work with people who love animals. Well, that's what I have for you on animal mediumship, you guys. I just want to encourage you to explore your true nature in telepathy with past animals, or with trees, or with squirrels, or with your animals in your family. And having said that, St. Francis was with you a couple of days ago. Yes, I love that. And also someone wrote me, we had a class last night, and Gaynor, hi Gaynor, I don't know if you're here. She told me that she's been working with St. Francis a lot. And I have a question here. Can you speak about animal soul families as they relate to human souls and soul families? Sometimes I think there are archetypes. For example, maybe there are 5 cat souls and 5 dog souls, with maybe individualized aspects of these archetypal souls. That's a great question. So, here's the thing I think will help you to organize that contemplation that you have going on there. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Is that, think about it, we have oversouls, and oversouls dispatch many, 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 many multidimensional consciousnesses that become physical beings. So, there's this story I've told a few times where I was actually at a workshop with a channel who's named Daryl Anka, and he channels Bashar. Excuse me, I need a sip. And Bashar is I think a 6th density future version of himself. He's an Essassani ET, if you will. Anyway, I think I asked, but I'm not even sure if I was the one who asked. The question was posed to Bashar: how many oversouls are there approximately? Because it's not a number that would ever be static by a certain perspective. And the number that he gave us, I can't remember the reverse math right now, but I did the math really fast. And essentially, the number that he gave us would then mean that each oversoul was dispatching about 15,000 humans, according to the population of the Earth. But that's just humans. And you see, these oversouls, they're kind of like a neural network. So there's maybe more than one, like they could be connected to one another. So our animals, I believe, come from the same oversoul that we do. But there's also an oversoul of cats, of cat species, cat groupings, kind of like what you're talking about, which is also connecting a dispatching signal to that incarnation of that cat. And so, as you say, are there certain 5 cat souls, 5 dog souls? Maybe it's oversouls. Maybe it's more or less than 5. I don't even know. And I'm sure you're not you're probably not being so literal as to say that, but there are also oversouls for an entire species. Like there is a human race oversoul, and it's sort of just the collective of archangels, because the archangels together created the oversouls that dispatch the humans. But if you know what a neural network looks like here, it's got like these neurons and these neural pathways, and they're interconnected. Like Gaia she has like an oversoul. So she's an oversoul, or she's really an archangelic energy. But then there are these oversouls for the trees. And then there's oversouls for certain kinds of trees, and then maybe tree families. And so it's really a complex architecture. So, and this is just, do I know positively for sure? I hope I never think I know for sure, because I think it's really you can't imagine a non-reality. So I think what you're onto is similar to what I'm onto, this universal architecture, and how things, the architecture is intelligently designed to flow energy, loving creation energy into these different areas. Just to contemplate that. I don't know. Does that help? Let's see. Oh, good. That answered your question. Okay. Oversouls for species. Yeah, exactly. And by the way, oversouls for species, you can also think about it if you're connecting with animals, that there are devas that are overlighting all different kinds of areas of creation. So there would be a deva, which a deva is like it's an elemental being. Like gnomes are the devas who oversee the element of earth, and all of the fae and sprites and everything inside that are working with the element of earth. But there are also devas, like there's a deva who would be overseeing one garden or a tree and all of the comings and goings. But then there's also devas who would oversee an entire species over the whole planet, or a whole, flock of birds, or a whole clouder of cats. And so like if you were a person who had a sanctuary or a wildlife preserve or a farm, or you were involved, had a more agrarian life as opposed to me who lives in a city. And let's say you had your ecosystem, you had a certain, and there was a predator who was coming onto your property and kind of really causing, either eating or killing or disrupting your ecosystem, whether it's animal or plant life. You see, it wouldn't make sense if this predator species, this whole group, if you just started trying to like pick them off, like if you just started trying to kill them one by one, it just doesn't work. That's not how it's not going to diminish them enough, and they do replace themselves. It's not the intelligent way it's not an ecosystem way to work with them. But what you could do is, we here are, spiritual practitioners, you could communicate with the deva who's overlighting that collection that's of that group of predators. The ones in that area, there is a deva who is overseeing it. And that deva is maybe more like a spirit animal or an animal, guide. Let's say if they're canines, they're coyotes or something, then you can connect with the deva and ask how you could come into a balanced relationship. Now, it's not just say, hey, get out of here. It's more like, how can we be of service to one another? Is something I can provide? And is there a way that I can, help my ecosystem to continue to flourish, and also provide, some support for you to flourish? And there are many cases where people have done that and their issues diminished. The species went on. Streaming through other channels. Yeah. Oh, you're coming up as Facebook user because if you look up at the top in the text part of this post for the video, it says facebook.com/StreamYard. If you just click through that, it'll qualify you. It'll show me your name, and I think it stays like that forever. It's just, that's how you have to who are you? You have to just do that. I think it's just one, and then every other time you join a live stream, it'll show up. It doesn't do that with with YouTube. It has a partnership, I guess, with YouTube. Yes, I love Bashar. So awesome. And I love St. Francis. Oh, Amber, you're always amazing. Thank you, Amber. I miss your face. Oh, my voice is going out. Yes, the idea of opening up that communication. And so, again, if you are someone who, let's say, I know some people and they're like, oh my gosh, I love animals so much, but my lifestyle or my whatever, I can't, bring animals into my family. But you can go out into your yard or into a park and you can connect with squirrels and trees. Trees are like the archangels of the nature plane, of the 2D basically, but they're highly ascended as well, and they mirror in 5D. Hi. Oh, hi. Thank you, Irma. Thank you so much. Well, guys, here's another interesting one. Let's see. I get it. So if you didn't believe in oversouls, you could say that it was a neural network that serves itself, like focused energy, like the human body, the earth, the solar system, a beehive. Woo! I got chills on that. I'm seriously getting big chills. I like that a lot. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like you said, if you don't believe in oversouls, it's a word. It's a concept. It's even an image that helps us to relate to something that is kind of ineffable, because we're talking about eternity and all of the potential possibilities and probabilities of the universe. So, but as above, so below. So a beehive, that might be that I'm sure that exists in spirit as an organizing feature for dispatching creation energies. 100%. Yes. Well, let's see. I was going to ask if you guys have any questions. Do you have any mediumship on demand coursework? I don't think so. I was trying to think if I did. The only thing I may have is in my Mystic Arts Academy, I may have a class or two that has mediumship there. But we have the I think you probably saw it, April, right? The Mediumship Workshop. It will be on demand after the Mediumship Workshop. It's called Mystical Medium, and it is December 4th and 5th. And here it is. And that will be on demand for you have it on demand available to rewatch for a year after the actual live production of it. But I'll also say, you know what, April is the Lightshine Development Circle is a great place for you to practice any of your, I'm trying to pull up that circle. There it is. Lightshine Development Circle is a place for us to be able to practice, because it's really important to, when we're learning something like a new spiritual ability, we really have to practice it. We can learn and learn and learn, but if we're about to open registration for the Intuitive Intensive in April, I know you've taken a lot of programs. I think you've taken the Intuitive Intensive. That's why we do coaching. That's why we do practice, because you can sit around all day long and ponder it, but if you don't actually put the pedal to the metal, then you're not going to actually see it, because you're going to stay in the state of, I don't think I do that because I've never done it before. So we actually have to practice it. You can start practicing right now in the circle, in the Lightshine Development Circle. It meets twice monthly. It's a really affordable price. It's $22 a month for 2 circles, and it is so beautiful. So beautiful. Crystal, Stephanie, and I run them. So we take turns running them, and we give readings, we receive readings. It's so beautiful. So check that out. That's a really great way to do it, because I know you have so much knowledge, April. So that might be a big part of it. Like piano drills. Oh, like piano drills, right? You can sit around and, right, Alicia, you can listen to music all day and you can understand it, but you got to put your fingers on the keys. Hi, Jeremy Stangness. Oh, I love that photo of you. How cute. Oh, thank you, Kristen. Nice to see you too. Well, guys, I guess maybe we'll call it. That was an hour. And if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much. I want to invite you to like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment. If you are watching anywhere else, There's the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Tricia Carr. I have my podcast. You can find on any podcast app. It's Charmed Life with Tricia Carr. And we also have, what do we have? Well, of course, the Lightshine Lab, where we have all our practitioners giving readings and teaching. And that's just every day, really. And that's what I have for you. I'm going to be posting a portion of this on my podcast feed if you wanted to listen back to it. Or, of course, you could watch the replay on YouTube or on Facebook. And do I have anything else for them? I'm just checking. Actually, I'm checking with St. Francis, who wants to come through with a little bit of a message. So maybe we'll close out with this. My cherished children and my sisters and brothers, I am so grateful for the opportunity to come into your hearts and into your homes. And as I say home, I want to call your attention to your energy field, for this is your home, and yet you stand on a mountaintop and you stand on the ocean side at any time that you are feeling yourself from your own perspective. You are limited in no way. And yet you have this beautiful home that you have designed and you continually design. This is that energy field. Yes, we are talking about the beautiful colors of your aura, but we are talking about the grander landscape of your energy field. This energy field is holding all of the architecture that has been spoken of in this session. However it is that you might see it, it holds this and more. Your yes and to all of these ways that you might imagine the universal energies to flow and to be creating themselves. And you are part and parcel and creator and creation all at once. You are the designers of it. And this is why you see your signs and synchronicities, because these things are happening within your own energy. And you are calling them in as the magnets that you are. And then you are dispatching them, whether you are totally aware of it or not, consciously aware of it, whether you think that you are manifesting them or not, you are calling them in, you are drawing them in, and then you are evolving them from the inside of your field out. And so as you are seeking to experience spirit, as you are seeking to experience beings of light, your animals, your past humans, the wonders of what it feels like as a human, we want to say that this is all inside your beautiful energy field. And it is easily just as much you as being the physical you. And with this, I also want to communicate to you that the health, the abundance, the success, the pleasure, these all exist inside your field as well. And nothing is withheld from you. There is nothing that you cannot identify to or vibrate to. And the purpose, as this session started with, this purpose, this question about what is the purpose of? What is the purpose of? We do have much compassion for you for wanting to have this question answered, but we also want to give you relief from the ever seeking of this, for what is the purpose of is a binary question. It is one that is more limited to your inner dimensions of birth and death. And we want you to also feel relieved of that, your complete freedom. For my children, you will never totally feel free as long as you are holding your perspective between the lines of birth and death. You can feel pleasure, you can feel abundance, you can feel exhilaration between those lines. But freedom will never fully be experienced unless you are also expanding to the eternal perspective. And this is held in very human moments. This is experienced when one brings forth a child, or when one releases a loved one to the beyond, because you're taken to the liminal places, you are taken to the thresholds of the inter-between in these experiences. And while they are very, very human, they are opening these profound portals to the fullness of who you are. And the fullness of who you are is you at all times. It is not somewhere else. It is not hither. It is not thither. And it is not some other when. It is you. It is now. And in any moment, you may just elect to vibrate to it. And we do not qualify as certain things better than others, but we know that you do, and we also hold space for you to be able to experience those preferred states. And so we encourage you to experience those preferred states without reservation. And when you are in the states that you would call non-preferred, we hope that you'll be able to pivot and realize that these are just ways to be of service, ways to grow in your wisdom and compassion. And so, in a sense, Even the non-preferred states are the preferred states, where they are making you stronger. They are making you wiser. They are crystallizing your aura in a way that it had not yet been. And so with this, we have deep compassion for you. We bless you, and we want to shower you with the gifts. And we say that all it takes is to turn the light on inside the field, for it is already yours. Thank you so much for your dispatch into your world. I am here as your servant and as your teacher, Saint Francis of Assisi, blessing you. Thank you for your attendance. Amen. All right, guys. I'm just going to highlight this comment from Alicia. The development circle is really awesome because it's slightly different every time. Absolutely. So I learn something every time, but don't come because I like it when they are small. You're like divinely selfish. I love it. But seriously, come to the development circle because we love you and want to watch you expand. Oh, thank you so much, Alicia. All right, guys. Well, I guess we will call this a night. Oh, wait, Alicia says, Cynthia, weren't you just talking about manifestation? Mm-hmm. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for joining me, whether live or on the replay. Thank you for coming together for one another. And, well, thanks for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are. Good night.